On to another episode of Coffee and Whiteboard Markers. I'm joined by my co-host Sean Brentnell. I'm Miles OK. Look forward to taking along for the ride. Before we get into Sean taking another hosting session, my mate, I'm hearing it far and wide. Apparently you're quite the fan of this school morning tea. Any truth to this rumour?
That's bloody. You didn't tell me about that, did you?
Mate, can't plan anything.
Well, I don't know. I was particularly hungry yesterday.
So for our viewers out there was a morning tea yesterday that Sean sent me a message. It was extremely happy with. When you walk into the staff room for a morning tea, what food thing do you see there? It's like, I'm excited now. For me, it's party pies. It needs to be party pies.
Well, that's the stock standard though, isn't it?
I don't think so. It used to be. Like when I was coming up through the teaching game, there had to be party pies at morning tea. It seems like there's less these days.
And if there weren't party pies, people were unhappy, weren't they?
They were.
I've got a few stories about this,
Please.
Well, we do it at this school in our department, so it rotates, right?
Right. So
people started slightly escalating, so it was cake and it was...
it can get out of hand quickly.
So one guy did gourmet sandwiches, and then another guy did me and another bloke did cob loaf, but they were individualised.
Stop it.
So everyone got a little roll each, and then we just made the mix up.
This game's really evolved.
Another girl did individualised tacos, so everyone had their own taco mix.
This is in the department, on purpose, trying to outdo each other, having a bit of a laugh.
Just something deadly.
Okay, right.
And then last thing I made was sanchoy bao.
Stop it.
And then
this is out of control.
But I do remember one time when we were working together.
Yep.
And our mate that we both know, he and I were on morning tea, and we decided everyone brings food, we'll bring drinks.
That's
so
right.
We'll just try to revolutionise the morning tea.
Yeah.
And we brought in like these big carafes of cordial. Not one person. Everyone just left it. We were just having a cordial each. Like going.
I'm not big on the beverage.
No,
I don't. Like I'll go for the party pie, go to sausage rolls, go a bit of sugar, and then just go to the water.
That's a great question.
I had we had a similar thing a couple of years ago at school I was at before I went to where we were working together, and it got out of control. We got to the point a guy had brought in a chocolate fondue setup to get in there. So our head department goes, we need to scale this back a bit. Yeah. But I always got point that we're trying to outdo each other over a term as well. Just kept bumping up.
Classic.
All right, so Sean's going to take it away today. Looking at the episode.
So today we're doing a little bit of a self-appreciation episode, I suppose.
Yep.
No, we're not. It's how to become a memorable teacher. So most people have a teacher they remember, like we have said, which more often than not is due to that teacher personal persuasion in pedagogy.
Yep.
Alliteration. So in what ways can you develop a classroom environment where your students will leave school with fond memories? After all, if you like someone, you're usually more engaged in interactions with them, so you will learn better.
I think there's a lot of truth in that. I think as a teacher, if you're getting along with the students, they're going to like you better and then listen to you more, which I imagine where the learning comes from.
Yep.
But again, like I've said it heaps of times, going in my career, like before I was a student, when I was a student, before I was a teacher, I didn't have many good teachers. And the one teacher I did who was memorable, in year 12, knew his content knowledge, very caring, but very professional at the same time, and had high standards.
Yep. I think it's just it comes down to if you respect someone, you don't want to let them down. Like the old, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed.
Oh, the old father look on it. Okay.
Well, that's what your dad relies on, I reckon. Like your mum will yell.
Dad's just disappointed.
Yeah. Like they go quiet when they're disappointed, and you're like,
and it burns, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's all right, so sorry.
You go, mate. What have we got first? What does it say there?
Okay, so we're looking at how to be a memorable teacher, or what characteristics of what memorable teachers have.
Yeah, what do you do? How do you it's not an aim to make yourself memorable, I suppose.
But you want to be a good teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a big one is to show genuine interest.
Yeah.
I think, or just being genuine as a person. Stuff we've talked about before. Get to know the students' interests, know their strengths and challenges. There'll be times, even to this day, my harder students in class are more difficult. They may not be liking the content of work we're doing, but just talking to them about the football game on the weekend, or I don't know much about gaming, but whatever the fortnight situation is and how they're going, the challenges there. Some of them have started to work full-time or part-time, So I think it gives you, it shows that you care as a teacher. They start to open up more. Then when the actual curriculum and the learning does come, they seem to get more involved with it as well. I think on top of that as well, just remembering names and details. And even, like I used to be quite good at this, to get with, but my last couple of years I've got bad. I don't know whether it's just getting older. But I noticed that this year I had a lower school student who I kept messing up her name, and I could see her getting frustrated. And I don't know what was happening. Eventually, halfway through, got it right, and then ever since then, he's had to build those relationships. You know, like, you start to see and take interest in one another. You start to care.
Did everyone cheer when you got a name right?
No, it was a tricky name. Like, it was a Middle Eastern name. So it wasn't no excuses. But she was definitely happy, and so she should be as well. Like, I would have got frustrated if I've told a teacher a name and they keep messing it up.
And do you avoid saying the more difficult names that you know you
I did then, and I think because I was avoiding it, then it wasn't just, like I used to go just say the student's name over and over in my head. Yeah. And then because I couldn't pronounce it in my head, I was like, I'll just get through this as much as possible. But then because the avoidance happened, it just made it worse.
I think that's an advantage of being like a head of student services or something like that. Yeah. You've got to stand in front of the assembly and say their names.
Yeah.
So you've got to face it head on.
Yes.
We've got kids that are particularly of a certain culture. Yes. And all their names, like they have common names, and they're female or male, they're masculine or feminine.
Yes.
So you can have I've got kids in my class that have the same first name, similar middle name, and then a common last name.
Oh, right.
And then you get like a note saying so-and-so has to come to the office, and you don't know whether it's
who to approach and where to go.
Yeah. I always just go, that's you, isn't it?
I think that's helped me with that since they've put on, whatever the system is now we use in the school, we got the students' photos attached.
Oh, yeah.
That makes it so much easier. Well, back in the day, it used to be like the paper rolls, and some of the spelling you look at, like, I think it says that, but I don't have enough guts
to say
this.
But even then, because you got the photos, I don't call out the names. I just look around, see who's there.
And then you're not revising as many.
Exactly,
Yeah,
so
okay.
It's making it worse.
I see it.
But I reckon you got to show them your passions and hobbies as well. So you got to sort of open up a bit. You can't be just about them. Like, they will appreciate it if you remember what they're doing.
Yep.
But some kids that are sort of savvy will come up to you and talk about what you've, I don't know, played music, a certain band in
Well, that's going to be my question.
Class.
So you've got a class, how far into the year are you telling them that you play music on the side? Or you got interest in music?
Very rarely.
Very rarely?
Yeah. No, I've actually got a guitar out yesterday because it's sort of towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
And the kids I've had for 2 years are like, oh, you play guitar?
So why you just don't time and place of mentioning it? You just don't want to mention it?
I just don't think young kids don't know anything about music.
Yeah, okay.
Like, they want you to, they're impressed by things that are impressive, and then it's all about how good are you, and like,
sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not about that.
So you'd be more likely to talk about the NBA standings of basketball?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And things like, lately, like solar system, and we ended up actually talking a lot about that. Like,
as in the planets?
Yeah, they were saying how they watched some video about a bottle getting to the moon in 5 days. And I was like, what? So I was teaching them about how fast light travels and how far away the moon is.
As you do, hey?
Yeah. So,
Jack of all trades, Sean Brentnell.
I think just like you got to be, if you are passionate about something,
yes, then
that is, what's the word? That's
beneficial.
Yeah, contagious.
Contagious.
So, yeah. What do you got next,
so
mate?
I think make your lessons engaging and relevant.
Yep.
I fight this, math teachers fight this constantly. You want to find ways you can relate to, have the content. Obviously if you're doing finance stuff, it's great. You can sort of see the real world connection straight away. But there's going to be times where you're learning trigonometry or Pythagoras. There's only so many times you can take the classroom out to put a flag up and then measure its shadow from there. You want to find a trade-off for me there is just almost talking about sometimes you got to get through this content. You have to do stuff that you don't necessarily enjoy. So it almost becomes a life lesson there as well.
In maths there.
Yeah. I mean, students normally appreciate the short, sharp of being able to see the math in front of them, but then drawing in the bigger picture, it can be challenging at times.
What about things like in real young kids learning about money, and maybe kids that have learning difficulties, like if they're dyslexic or what's the
dyscalculia?
Dyscalculia, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Teaching them about money and change and currency and stuff like that.
Anytime we got to do with money, it's got finance, kids tune in because they can see the real world relevance. It's just we can't teach it for the whole year.
Do you use actual fake, like
Fake money, you do
Fake
fake money, talk
Fake
about, even talk about, I never thought tax would be exciting. Understanding
What do you
why
mean?
they do tax, where the money comes, where the public schools come from, things like that.
Yeah.
They can see,
Yeah.
But it's, it's tough. And that's the main, the plus side of teaching math is it's short and sharp with marking and sort of teaching direct content. I think the trade-off is it's not the most real world relevant at times. And maybe that's just my math knowledge as well. I'm not overly excited about maths content. I am more these days, but teaching 16 years, you get to see a lot of content going through, and I still think there's a disconnect between the content being taught and the real world applications. Maybe it's just me, but yeah, no, definitely more hands-on or interactive elements. I mean, I think all those online platforms we've got for math these days is incredible.
The word goes around, then they overuse it. And then it loses its weight.
Yeah. For sure, and I think you got to factor into your classrooms where he's doing it.
It's like Kahoot.
Don't mention that word around me. I've been overdosed with Kahoot, with that.
Yeah, the K word,
tool.
Voldemort. Other thing is that when I was teaching maths, a lot of students can't read a clock. Is that real world application in reading an analog clock?
Yeah, but it should do that more. Yeah, for sure.
Like,
but it's not even, like, don't get us wrong, it's not even like 24-hour time. It's like, there's a clock on the wall. What's the time? Or here's a clock on the wall.
Or it's quarter to 11. And they go, I have no idea what time
quarters
it
and
is.
halves, and panic spirals through the students. Or my favourite one is, what's the time, sir? How long left of the lesson? Now, do the math for me. I'm like, you can do the numbers here.
What do? I'd just say, you're here every day. It's the same time every day.
Yeah, I say it's a math lesson. You can figure it out.
Yeah.
And then I just quit.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And then it's a life lesson of perseverance.
Exactly. You really should work at finding out the time.
We can do this.
Yeah, and that comes into my next point. Set high expectations and support students that need them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
challenge. Can I just jump in there? Sorry.
Yeah.
The best teacher I had, as I said before, he kept me to that high standard, which I appreciate. I think it's a massive thing in teaching.
Yeah. I actually said to one kid in class yesterday, I said he was just being lazy about writing a story and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And I got annoyed. I went, student name, you're the smartest kid in this class, because he is.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you're not doing enough. Like, if your current work ethic is not going to get you very far. It's year 9.
Yep.
And
especially at this day and age, man, you got so much research tools around you. If you've got a work ethic where to persevere with stuff, you could learn most stuff, so I imagine.
Yeah. So, like, that's... they do get surprised when you tell them that they are smart. Like, you don't do it too much because it just water it down. But, like, if you know what they're good at and you're working at something that they are good at, telling them is a good way to do it. So, yeah.
I think I mentioned to you before, direct praise. I went to, when I was first started teaching, a PD on boys in education, and the guy running it was an ex-principal of one of the schools, who was pretty well known. He said that. He said, look, boys, don't just give them blanket praise. It has to be direct praise.
Yeah.
You've persevered through, whatever the word is, you worked through this at this time, well done.
Yeah.
Instead of going just great work to them, they'll be like, what's the point? And I think, and I started doing it more. I see it with myself as well even. I'm like, I respond better to people actually showing direct interest and going, okay, they've actually looked and spent some time or whatever, watching or observing, instead of just throwing off an easy comment, hoping they'll just bite into it.
Yeah, I don't want to be told that I'm just pretty. I want to know. I want to be told that
I can see that.
Yeah,
you are a handsome man.
Yeah,
with
not,
well-defined
what is it
eyebrows.
about me that you like?
Your character.
Yeah, but that's not pretty. No, but in all seriousness, I think you remember the teachers that pump you up. Like, even with your mates, like when you're younger and you're just all giving each other crap. Like, then there comes to a point where you sort of realise what they're good at and that they're better than you at it, maybe. And that's actually why you appreciate them. So you pump them up.
Yeah.
And it's good rapport building. What do you reckon?
Humour and storytelling. I think, I think in our family growing up, like storytelling was always big, and like having to be able to laugh at yourself. So almost like telling people your errors and failures and stuff to show that you don't care.
Self-deprecation.
Yeah. Which I always sort of brought into teaching as well, and I think it's that way. When a student's telling you they've messed up spelling a word, or you've messed up the math, I'm just saying, look, mistakes happen or whatever, and playing off. So it's all part of the learning experience, and it does lighten the mood with humour as well. I think the students appreciate someone they can have a laugh with, especially like if it's a lot of trauma and stuff. through schools and through school-age students, I think be able to find moments of being lighter in the day. They appreciate that. They don't have to be the best at maths, English, sport, whatever, but they can actually relate to you because you lighten their day up, which is big. And I enjoy that part of teaching because it's like that holistic thing. You're not just teaching the student content, but you're helping them out with sort of, I don't know, emotional.
I reckon that when you are using humour and telling like anecdotes and that,
Yep.
you have your own way of saying it, and quite often you have phrases or body language that makes you look awkward and dorky and like and sort of separates you from what is the common way of behaving.
Yes.
And when you're a teenager or like an early teens and you try to figure out what your identity is, you try to minimise those sort of things that separate you so you're not isolated and people don't look at you and go,
man,
that's weird.
Yep.
But when your teacher's doing it and
well, they're the role model, aren't
Yeah.
they? And it's a good point. I'm actually almost focused on that last couple of years about things where I've failed and sort of got up and gone again. Because at that age, it's all about saving your face and not wanting to stand out and look bad. But
Exactly.
it's just this is going to be able to do it at a young age. It's going to help you later in life.
yeah, or just so even just to look at you and go, it must be okay because I like Mr. Brentnell and he's being an idiot, like he's doing.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's getting away with it, and it's just I guess they don't have the confidence that you have when you grow up.
It's a scary thing, like being ostracised, isn't it? Being isolated.
Yeah. So that actually fits in with the one before that, the consistency and fair and authentic. So to be funny, you got to be authentic, and if there are kids with trauma and that, they will appreciate the fact that you've been there every day and that they know what to expect and stuff.
I was actually thinking of this on the drive the other day. Like I think I have big on discipline in my classrooms. I don't know whether it's just because in my life I'm big on discipline. I think it's helped me a lot. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts on discipline, especially with young boys? There's a need for it in teaching. How and like I almost get to, when I start.
Do you mean being disciplined or having discipline?
Like trying to instill discipline in students.
I think it's very difficult to do as a teacher.
Yeah.
Obviously, it helps.
I have a discipline like through organisation and stuff as well because I find like a lot of my chaos growing up because I was unorganised and then just didn't care about stuff. We kind of just like trying to fine tune or give them a work ethic, trying to show them how to have a work ethic, and then sort of fine.
I'm actually the opposite. I've always been, I've got to do that. It's spontaneous and like
work in the moment.
Yeah, which is not. I wish I was more prepared and more.
But everything's got pros and cons, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. So the stress of actually being prepared and disciplined.
Right.
And I'm not feeling that stress until I realise that I've got to get it done.
Then the stress comes. Well, I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I definitely think there is value in showing them how to be disciplined. But that's like routines. Like when you get here, you line up, get your folder when you come in, get your pen out, get your ruler. All those things are prep.
Yep.
And they're not going to make you memorable, really, because every teacher says it, but they are helping you
build those foundations.
And they probably won't recognise that when they're a bit older. They're not going to say, "Well, your routines and habit building."
But it's the same. Like it's the same as like swearing with teenagers. Like I think they just do it because they don't know. They almost don't think about it. But I'll tell them, look, swearing is the easiest thing you can do. Actually, put some thought into what you're saying.
I agree. Yeah, I do. I say I swear, but I don't swear in public for no reason.
Yeah,
loudly.
Exactly.
And calling out those kind of things is important as well because other students aren't comfortable with it. What else have we got?
It isn't me, is it?
No, go on then.
I mean, the big ones inspire confidence and independence.
Yeah.
I think that's almost, if there was a pyramid, it's going to be towards the top. And I think be able to
that's
do
the
that.
end goal, yeah.
Mate, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's probably not done until year 11 and 12.
No, and that's the body of work put into that student as well. I was actually thinking, like, just the body of work you can put into single students at times is incredible. You know what I mean? And that's probably what everyone wants.
That's actually the best thing about teaching. Is the kid that comes in and used to be year 8.
Yep.
And they were rude and disrespectful and never at school. And
see them grow in later years.
Yeah. And then they start, really enjoying seeing you daily, even outside the classroom, saying g'day.
And you kind of become, without trying to be too cliche, the reason they've changed as well. And there's a lot of other teachers involved as well. But that's what I got into teaching for. I imagine you'd be similar to get to that point, And
that, go. I think that they're kids that misbehave 12, 13, 14 are quite often it's puberty and it's like
A lot of stuff. going on.
ADHD,
Yeah.
things that they actually can't physically stop themselves from doing.
Yes.
And if you're patient with them through that period, then they'll remember it when they're like mellowed out a bit.
Yeah. And it builds that, and that's part of it, being genuine, that trust,
Yeah.
which is huge.
Yep.
I think we've got time for one more each, man.
All
You're
right.
up.
So I think we have. You went off order.
Sorry, I jumped around a bit.
Yeah. Encourage self-reflection and growth, I suppose.
Mm.
So in all facets of their life. So
Have you done that recently? With the
yeah.
student? What did you do?
I got a couple of kids in class that do Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
And one of them in particular is really quiet. Like he's not a fantastic academic, but he's well behaved. He doesn't do anything disrespectfully and gets on with his work.
It's quite respectful and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a kid in class who's a loudmouth, late, always misbehaving, always talking mess about every other kid in the class.
Yes.
And he's actually quite a small kid. And so he started like hassling this Brazilian jiu-jitsu kid. And I've warned him. I said, like, don't keep hassling him. He's going to like snap and blah, blah, blah. And then after the class, the kid that does the martial arts came up to me and said I'd never do that. I don't want to get suspended, and he really doesn't bother me anyway.
Wow,
and
that's
stuff.
impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Especially at that age.
yeah. So I mean, even though if you looked at his report, he's probably failing English.
Right.
But he got my respect for that because he's already evaluated the situation.
And that critical thinking behind that.
Yeah.
For sure. I think I'll finish with keep learning and adapting. I think it's the teaching, especially society keeps changing so fast. Teaching game's going to change really quick as well. So just keep up to date with stuff, read things where you can, jump on social media, get your quick little hits of information, and then see how sort of adapt and help students as they grow. I mean, especially I found last 5 years with phones becoming more predominant and social media platforms, like I had to change my teaching strategies and how I approach stuff, a lot more delicate, talking about mental health and stuff than I used to be. But knowing that it's not going to be in a comfort zone teaching. And if you are, it's not going to be for too long. But that's part of those challenges that's going to make you into the great mentor teacher you want to be, or the great memorable teacher.
Yeah, I think that like the old teachers that you work with at schools and stuff like that, the students do find them, they do like some of them, but they do get outdated. So you need to keep up to date with what's going on. Like you can't tell the same joke all the time, can you?
It doesn't get funnier, does it?
You can't tell the same joke all the time, can you?
Oh, I get it. Can you tell the same joke every time? Mate, you've done a good job
What's
so far.
that like when somebody says, "Oh, you're deaf," and you go, "Eh?"
The kids don't get it.
No. Don't use sarcasm, it's not funny.
I think you sign us off, mate.
All right, well, catch ya. Ururu.
Thanks, guys.
Train out.
Catch you next time.